I want to talk to you about inventory write-offs. I want you to really understand the best practices for managing unsold stock. What kind of impact can you actually expect on your financial statements? So here are the tactics I want you to pay attention to. The thing is that when you are speaking about an inventory write-off, of course you are speaking about inventory management, but you are speaking about a financial action that could have an impact on your balance sheet, on your income statement, and your statement of cash flows. So it's really important to understand that. Now, let me first define for you what an inventory write-off really is. So an inventory write-off is actually a monetary action that your business takes when its merchandise loses value or becomes unsellable. So when a company realizes that it can no longer sell some of its inventory at its intended price, the company will write it off, meaning that the company acknowledges the inventory, that part of the inventory, as a loss in the financial records. So balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statement. Now, this situation typically arises from stock obsolescence, product damage, or excess supply. So this is important. So this write-off directly impacts your company's financials by reducing the value of its current assets on the balance sheet, because inventory is an asset. Okay, so this reduction in asset value decreases the company's net income as the loss appears in the income statement. So these financial adjustments are crucial for maintaining accurate financial reporting and making informed business decisions. Now you have inventory write-off versus write-down. Let me explain a little further. So understanding the differences between an inventory write-off and an inventory write-down is crucial for accurate financial reporting. So while both deal with devaluing assets, their applications and implications vary. So there are a few ways write-offs and write-downs actually differ. So what is the extent of devaluation? Let's talk about that. One thing for sure, write-offs remove the asset's value from the books, treating it as a loss, as a total loss. This is often the case when the asset is unsalvageable or entirely obsolete. By contrast, write-downs reduce the asset's recorded value but do not eliminate it, acknowledging that the asset still holds residual inventory, residual value. Residual value. This is important. So besides actually the extent of the valuation, you also have the financial impact. Let me talk to you a little bit about that. So basically, the financial impact of a write-off is more severe because it translates to a direct hit to the company's profit and overall asset value. Write-down also impacts profits, but typically have less of a drastic effect since the asset retains some market value and potential for future revenue. You also have a frequency and adjustability. So write-offs are typically one-time actions reflecting a financial decision on an asset's value. And the cool thing is you can adjust write-downs over time, reflecting gradual changes in the asset value due to factors like market conditions or wear and tear. So this is important. And another important element to think about here is the fiscal aspect of things. So tax and reporting implications. So tax, I'm talking about how you deal with this issue when you file your 1120S, your 1120, or your 1065, or even your 1040 for that matter, if you are a sole proprietorship. But this is at the federal level, but also at the state level. You have the fiscal implications at the state levels as well. And for reporting implications, you are speaking about how you report the data in your financial statements. So both write-offs and write-down have tax implications, but the results differ. Write-offs can bring immediate tax benefits by reducing taxable income through loss recognition. Write-downs, however, adjust the asset's value on the balance sheet, which can affect tax calculation over a longer period based on the asset's new depreciated value. And if you have an inventory write-down, an inventory write-down triggers what the accountants call deferred tax asset and deferred tax liability. In other words, the value you have in your financial records is actually different from the value you have for tax records. So that temporary difference actually triggers deferred tax items, either as an asset or either as a liability. So deferred tax assets and liabilities could take longer to explain here, but if you have any question about that particular topic, let me know and I will be very happy to explain to you further. It's a pretty interesting topic. So let me talk to you about direct write-off method versus allowance method. So when you think about inventory write-off, you actually have a lot of ways to actually go about the procedure, right? You can do the direct write-off, or you can actually write off your inventory based on the allowance method. Let me break it down for you. When it comes to accounting for inventory losses, your business can often choose between the direct write-off method and the allowance method. So every method recognizes and handles financial adjustments differently. Let's break it down further. So I want to first start with the direct write-off method. So this method recognizes bad debts or inventory losses only when they are certain or after the loss has occurred. In other words, there has to be clarity, there has to be certainty for you to record this item as a direct write-off. So this approach means that your business will immediately remove the value of unsellable inventory from its books upon realizing the loss. If a part of the inventory becomes obsolete, the company will write it off by debiting the expense account and crediting the inventory account. So this method directly impacts the income statement, reflecting the loss when it occurs, right? Because when you think about expense, an expense is an income statement item, whereas an inventory is a balance sheet item. One thing I want to say here is that when you go with the direct write-off method, this procedure may not align with accrual accounting, which actually requires a financial transaction at a time a sale takes place. Since direct write-offs might not coincide with the associated revenue, it can potentially distort financial reporting. You also have the allowance method. So the allowance method anticipates potential losses in advance. So your business will estimate the amount of receivables or inventory that may not be recoverable in the future and actually create a reserve for this anticipated losses. Now, this reserve, recorded in a contra asset account, matches expected losses with revenues in the same accounting period. Okay, and what happens here is that when the loss occurs, your business will adjust the reserve, keeping the historical cost in the inventory account intact. So this method smooths financial results over time and adheres more closely to accrual accounting principles, offering a more up-to-date representation of a company's financial health. So, but again, if you have any question about the allowance method or the direct write-off method, let me know in the comments section, and I'll certainly explain to you, or one of our team members will explain to you how to really go about it. Let me talk to you about the methodology here. So how do you write off inventory? So there is actually a specific methodology to follow. If you want to write off inventory, first you want to track and identify damaged inventory. You want to document each item. You want to calculate the value of spoiled inventory. You want to set up an expense account for write-offs. And finally, you want to record the write-off in the financial statements. So let me first talk to you about the very first step. So you want to track and identify damaged inventory. Now, why should you have a method? Well, writing off inventory is a crucial task for companies handling obsolete inventory and excess inventory that no longer holds value. So this process ensures the accurate representation of a company's inventory on the balance sheet and in the financial statements overall. So when I speak about tracking and identifying damaged inventory, basically what I mean by that is that you want to evaluate the total value of the spoiled or excess inventory at the end of each accounting cycle. You want to base the valuation on the fair market value, which might be lower than the cost of goods sold originally attached to these items. Now, this step believe it or not, is crucial because it determines the impact of the written off inventory on the company's financials, particularly on the inventory value reported on the balance sheet. Next, you want to, it's important though, to implement a system that tracks when inventory items arrive and really identify damaged or obsolete inventory. So segregating these items into a designated area is actually quite essential for early detection of potential write-offs. And this step prevents obsolete or damaged goods from being mistakenly counted as part of the company's viable inventory, ensuring an accurate reflection of inventory value. Next, you want to document every item. So what you want to do is you want to maintain a comprehensive report for every inventory item you have written off. This documentation should include detailed descriptions of the damage or reason for obsolescence. And you actually need a thorough records to justify actually the inventory write-off and maintain transparency in financial reporting. This is going to be very helpful in the long run. Next, you want to calculate the value of spoiled inventory. This is so crucial because if you want to convince IRS auditors, you want to convince your CPA, you want to convince your external auditors that you have financial reporting pretty appropriately. If you set up the proper financial accounting and financial reporting process, then you need to calculate the value of spoiled inventory. So you want to evaluate the total value of the spoiled or excess inventory at the end of each accounting cycle. And what happens here is that you want to base actually the valuation on the fair market rate, which might be lower than the cost of goods sold originally actually attached to these items, especially if you have a clear idea of what the value should be. So the step of calculating the value of spoiled inventory is really crucial because it helps you make sure that when you have a write-off, the impact on the balance sheet, the impact on the income statement, the impact on the cash flow statement is really direct, but also accurate. Okay, but most importantly, the inventory value reported on the balance sheet will have a direct impact on your financials. So the next thing you want to do here is to set up an expense account for write-offs. So when you think about the inventory write-off, you got to really have a dedicated account. And that account should be an expense account. In other words, it's going to go contra the income statement. It's going to reduce the income, your net income for that period. Okay. So establish a dedicated expense account for the inventory write-off. So each entry in this account should correspondingly reduce the inventory value on the company's books. Okay. And so this step is really important for accurate financial reporting and to calculate the associated tax liability, because the last thing you want is to actually trigger scrutiny from the IRS or state tax authorities who might actually doubt your inventory write-off procedures and think this is actually a way for you to dodge taxes, to underestimate your tax liabilities. The next thing you want to do here is that when you think about inventory write-off, you want to record the write-off in the financial statements. Now, when you think about writing off the inventory reduction in the financial statements, actually you have a monetary decision that impacts all four financial statements. Usually when people talk about financial statements, they usually talk about three financial statements: balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statement. But you do have a fourth financial statement that's also important. And that statement is the statement of owner's equity, which is really a great mix between the balance sheet and also the income statement. Okay. So when an inventory write-off occurs, you want to record it by crediting the inventory write-off expense account and debiting the cost of goods sold. So this process accurately reflects the reduction in inventory value on the company's balance sheet and recognizes the loss in the income statement. Now, an inventory write down or inventory write off is not a cash flow scenario because it does not affect the cash flow statement directly. But if you prepare your cash flow statement using the indirect method, you are going to make some adjustments. Okay, and so this whole step of recording the write off in financial statements is particularly significant in cases of a large inventory write off. Okay, because it can substantially impact the company's financial health and tax liabilities. And tax authorities are really sort of adamant at making sure that you are following U.S. GAAP when writing inventory off. So U.S. GAAP, United States generally accepted accounting principles. So you got to really make sure that you have a clear compliance method for writing inventory down or off. If you have any question, let us know in the comment section, or you can just maybe hook up with a local CPA or a local accountant. You don't need to hire a certified public accountant, but you do need to have somebody who has experience, an accountant who has experience with inventory write-offs or inventory write-downs. Okay, so let us know in the comment section, or you can just let us know, and we'll hook you up with a local tax specialist. So let me give you a few extras here. When you think about inventory write-offs versus inventory write-down, it's important to understand that the way you reduce inventory through write-offs and write-downs has to be methodical. Okay, so implementing efficient inventory management practices and regularly reviewing stock to ensure items are not expired, out of style, or damaged can really reduce the occurrence of inventory write-offs. Okay, so that's really important. But one thing for sure, you can write off inventory when it becomes obsolete, damaged beyond repair, or otherwise unsellable. This accurately reflects its reduced value in the company's financial records. And you got to have that for tax purposes, but also for financial reporting purposes. Remember, it's not you who is asking for it. US GAAP and IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards, are actually calling for the write-off to happen at let's say frequent intervals. Okay, companies usually do a write-off procedure maybe every year or every 6 months. Now, how do you account for inventory write-offs? Pretty straightforward. You really you account for inventory write-offs by debiting the inventory write-off expense. This is an expense account, and you credit the inventory account. So inventory being an asset, when you credit it, you actually are reducing its value. And an expense account, being an expense account, when you debit it, you're actually increasing it. Okay, so when you do that, when you debit the inventory write-off expense account and you credit the inventory account, this whole procedure reflects the reduction in inventory value on the company's balance sheet. So that's important, at least for you to be in compliance with US GAAP and IFRS. So in conclusion, in today's conversation, I spoke to you about inventory write-offs. I gave you the tactics, the methodology, the extras, and now the conclusion. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.